Welcome, everybody, to a bonus installment of the Jurassic Park podcast. I'm your host, Brad Jost, and today I'm going to be going into my full spoiler thoughts on Jurassic World Rebirth. I put out a non-spoiler review kind of thing, a quick one, so go listen to that one if you have not seen the movie yet, and are considering it, I guess, but I know you all are. But if you have seen the movie, please enjoy this episode. I'm going to dive into everything I think and feel about the movie. I don't know how it's going to go. I have like a minimal notes here. I just figured, let's go ahead, get everything on record, talk about some things, and then we'll head out. But I do want to have longer form conversations in the future with guests. I already have one recorded. I've got another one planned. So we're going to have bigger, deeper conversations very, very soon. But for now, here are my thoughts. And just to reiterate a few things, the first time I saw the movie, I enjoyed it. I said I liked it, but I had a lot of issues with it canonically. It ate at me for a few days, and then I saw it again, and I liked it a lot more. I saw it with my son. I had a great time at the theater with a ton of friends. It was a completely different kind of experience. Gareth Edwards was there. Frank Marshall was there. Collider. So I enjoyed it a lot more the second time around because I let a lot of canonical stuff fall to the wayside and didn't let it bother my viewing of the movie. And I think the movie itself is pretty great. There's a lot of really awesome sequences. I think, following the synopsis, we've got, let's just get into everything now. Following the synopsis, it has the 5 years later after Jurassic World Dominion. There are some things in there that I feel like are really wishy-washy. It says it's current day, but if it's 5 years after Dominion, which was set in 2022, so that's 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, not current day yet, but so I was a little sketched about that. And then also it said 32 years later after Jurassic Park. So they were like kind of just forgetting about Jurassic World for a little bit, it felt like, and putting that to the side, but still picking up from where that left off in a way. I drew out this little diagram for Tom Jurassic, and I was like, all right, so if you want to know, canonically speaking, what's going on with Jurassic World Rebirth, it's like, imagine a straight line, and it's Jurassic Park, The Lost World, JP3, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, Dominion, and then from Dominion, it kind of takes like a little tangent, like off of that line, and creates another straight line. And that's, to me, where Jurassic World Rebirth falls. It falls in this like kind of alternate reality in a way where things feel a bit different. The aesthetic of the lab, right? Like everything feels very different. This is 17 years ago, I think it says, which if it's 17 years from 2027, which is 5 years after Dominion, there's a lot of math involved in this movie, by the way. But if it, let's say it's 5 years after Dominion, 2027, 17 years earlier is 2010, right? Or if you want to go the other way, say it's current day, it's 2008, whatever. There are some little things that we could dive into, Scorpius Rex, other things that timeline-wise. But let's just say it's 2010. And that means that Jurassic World takes place 5 years later. The aesthetics don't really match up for me, so I feel like there's some weirdness going on there. No Dr. Wu or anything, but we do see the helicopter from Jurassic World fly in. Nobody gets out of that, so that's kind of like just a thing to say, like, oh, you remember this timeline, this era, right? But I loved seeing that helicopter sequence when it was like the jungle was kind of shaking and it just burst through. So Jurassic, so incredible. The monkeys, dude, there was monkeys in the beginning of this movie. This is gonna be like a crazy kind of review kind of conversation, just because my mind's all over the place with this movie. I love things, some things I don't like, and it's mostly canonical stuff. I really can't think of a lot of things that I disliked about the movie other than canonical stuff. And again, I've only seen this movie twice, so it's not the full line read breakdown that we usually do here on the podcast in later weeks and stuff. But we'll get into that stuff, like I said, at a much later date. But so timeline-wise, it feels weird. It feels like things are aesthetically very different, like the computers, the lab. Everything feels a bit retro-futuristic, right? For me, This almost feels like an attempt at if they had just maybe gotten rid of the Jurassic World of it all, it would have been such a great sequel to Jurassic Park. And Jurassic Park 3 even. There's a facility that it's just all out on its own, and it feels like it would have been really perfect for a Jurassic World like replacement if Jurassic World never occurred or took place in between JP3 and Jurassic World. It feels like it really would have worked well there. They talk a lot about the Jurassic Park, the facility, the research facility for the original park. And in my mind, and I feel like a lot of your minds maybe as well, the original park means Jurassic Park. I've had conversations, debates, arguments with friends and group chats and things about what does that mean in world. It's very confusing, but to me, I feel like in world, people would know. Look, Lowry is wearing a shirt in Jurassic World and talks about how legit that first park is. We know after San Diego, look, people found out that dinosaurs were real. They had maybe heard Ian Malcolm talking about it for a little while. Nobody believed him. It became real in 1997. So I imagine that there was documentaries being made, TV, news segments being made about this original Jurassic Park, investigative journalism, stuff like that. Podcasts, maybe a little bit later down the line. But there was probably a lot of stuff about Jurassic Park in the social media sphere or news sphere, stuff like that. And even to the point where in Jurassic World Dominion, we see shots of the original facility. So people knew about that place. It wasn't an operational park. Sure, we get that. But I do feel like that is the original park. When anybody says that in world, to me, that means Jurassic Park. But when they cut to that 17 years earlier, it's not really, there's nothing in movie that's telling us it's a research facility for Jurassic Park, right? So to me, they've misconstrued their thought process. And what's his name? Rupert, friend. What's his name? Oh, Martin Krebs. He's wrong, I guess, in that point. And whoever else mentions Jurassic Park is wrong. They mean Jurassic World, right? Isn't that what they meant? Because we don't see anything. As far as I remember, I don't think there's anything Jurassic Park related in this movie. The 17 years ago shows the Jurassic World era. I don't know. I'm confused by that. I feel like it could have been really carefully explained and done so well and tied to the aesthetic and vibe that we're used to with Jurassic World, but it went a different direction. So that's why I feel like the alternate the alternate timeline works so well for me. It's like Back to the Future, right? Where they've created this timeline. They get to 2015. Biff steals the time machine, goes back to 1955, so that when which by the way, this wouldn't work if he went back to 2015. But when Marty eventually gets to 1985, it's an alternate 1985 from what he's used to. So I feel like that's the case. We also have the Mosasaurus, which, if I remember correctly, they had stated something along the lines of InGen had tagged this mosasaur and something about it escaping. And to me, if that's what you're saying, I'm imagining Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. The mosasaur was probably tagged by InGen at that point. Even Fallen Kingdom was a lot about tagged dinosaurs with all the different assets that they had to pick up, and blue specifically, right? So if the Mosasaurus is out there in the wild, I'm assuming they're talking about this is the one that escaped. But the aesthetic again, or the skin, whatever, is completely different on this creature. The size, the fins. So I've had a lot of people say to me, fish, Stephen Ray Morris said this and some others, that fish change over time, which is not a concept that I'm really in tune with. So I appreciate them for letting me know these things. And I can kind of jive with that, I think. I've been thinking a lot about that over the past few days, and I think that Sure, the mosasaur would definitely change. I mean, look, anything changes if you put it in water for long enough. The bottom of your boat looks like it's got stuff all over it and it looks a little different than the top side. So anything that's in the water will change. And I kind of understand that, and I think that does jive a little bit better for me, but it also does sit in this whole like alternate reality kind of business. Um, but yeah, so it's kind of a mess canonically, I feel like. And the well, let's talk about the synopsis since I'm still kind of going on that tangent here. They talk about the fact that the dinosaurs are dying off. I'm okay with that. I don't love it. I hate the idea, to be honest. But like and it feels like a big, massive change in direction. Like, well, we didn't like what happened in Dominion, so we're gonna go a different direction, right? I understand it though. Like, I get it. I could definitely see that being the case, and it works. I think on that level, right? The idea that people don't care about dinosaurs anymore again, that doesn't work for me at all. It didn't work for me in Jurassic World. I never understood that. 10 years into a theme park, that people don't care about the dinosaurs anymore in a theme park that is completely full of people that very much seem to care. I don't know, maybe their attendance was higher at a different point in the year, but like everybody cared that was in that movie except for Zach, right? Like he was the only one who didn't care. So that never checked out for me. I understand the idea of wanting to create new hybrid species and stuff like that. But the idea that people don't care, or didn't care, back in 2015, and again, don't care now, it just doesn't check out for me. I feel like there's a better way to talk about that people are scared. People don't want to interact with dinosaurs. Not that people don't care anymore. I feel like that's just weird. So I don't know. Take that how you will. If you think that works for you, that's fine. But for me, those like synopsis kind of deals don't really work. But what does work are the mutants. I love the mutants so much. I love the Mutadon. I think it's really, really cool. It's they establish how dangerous it is, right? Right off the bat, too. Like, well, not right off the bat. I guess it was like kind of in the middle of the movie. But as soon as you see the Mutadon, it's like, oh yeah, if this thing's taking out some raptors, that's messed up. And that's terrifying. That's going to be scary. So I appreciated that. The fact that it took out the Raptors is it's a total JP3 moment. I had a conversation with Jay Jurassic and we established this. So that is absolutely a Spinosaurus versus T-Rex moment for a lot of people. I think that it'll be like that for a lot of people, where people will be like, dude, I hate the Mutadons because of that. Because it took out the fan favorite Velociraptors. And more specifically, because the Raptors never showed up ever again. So the Raptors got, 10 seconds of screen time, blurry in the background, with this design that was pretty great. And, initially we saw some, kind of renderings pop up, but then we saw some bigger, like real good designs pop up. They've got standees at certain movie theaters that you can buy and things, but they never ever showed their face ever again. I know there's a lot of talk of like a few sequences that were cut out of this movie. From Gareth Edwards himself that we heard at the Collider screening, he said 2. I've heard in other interviews he said 3. I don't know what to believe at this point, but he did say it was only like about 2 minutes of screen time that were like cut. And I didn't know if he meant 2 minutes in total or 2 minutes from each of the 2 or 3 sequences. So either way, it's not a lot of screen time. But I imagine it was the gas station sequence. It sounds like they filmed kind of 2 versions of it, because the version that's in the movie is very much a Jurassic Park pull, right? It's very much the kitchen scene with the Raptors. And they were kind of afraid that it would be too Jurassic Park, so they filmed an alternate take that, maybe had the Raptors doing some more stuff outside or whatever. And I feel like that was definitely what was cut. So and it sounds like we might be seeing those at least on the DVD. I don't know about an extended cut or anything like that just yet, but we'll have to wait and see. But I think I think that's sad that we didn't get more velociraptors, but I'm okay with it because the mutodons were really, really cool. I really dug them. They were scary and interesting. And the D-Rex was, I don't ever feel like I don't think it ever said Distortus or anybody mentioned Distortus, but it was D-Rex throughout the movie. And there's no further information. They talk about the Jurassic World era experimentation because, they had to make some new dinosaurs or some new creatures for the park, and they never ever once mention anything else about it. Really, that's it. It's kind of like the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3. It's like, man, what else did they have on InGen's list or whatever the quote is, right? It's like that, but like just a passing throwaway kind of like, well, they made these things and they must have messed up, so that's what's here. And the most dangerous of the dangerous dinosaurs ended up here, or whatever they say. Is that a line even in the movie? I don't remember, but I know it was in the trailer. So that to me was a great creature. It was scary. It was awesome. I wish we got more information about it, but we didn't really, Was it a precursor to the Indominus, or was it some sort of other? I don't know. I really don't know anything about it. And Perry Nemiroff tried to ask Gareth about it, and he kind of sidelined the in-world answer and just went with the making of answer of, oh, it's the Rancor with the alien and T-Rex all comboed together. So they're kind of skirting around the whole Jurassic World of it all, I feel like, in the conversation about the movie. So I don't know what they're doing, but it's kind of interesting. But I think it's awesome. I hope we get more information about this. I would love a DreamWorks show about this era, kind of talking about, maybe the kids would, from Camp Cretaceous Chaos Theory would uncover some information about this creature. That could be a full show in and of itself, and I'd love to watch that. Another thing I really absolutely loved was the dinosaur like DNA retrieval scenes. I think they are stunning, incredible, kind of edge of your seat stuff, really, really fun and innovative. The way that they, and we conjured up some ideas about this for a while. I don't know if we ever said this, we may have, but like the idea that it would just pop out and just fly into the air and then a little parachute would come down. Genius idea. I love that. That is so cool. And it creates for some fun little dynamics and like, oh my God, we got to catch the thing. It's cool. I love that. And the fact that it needs to be a certain distance away, it's all really, really cool stuff. So that was a lot of fun. The Mosasaurus sequence, really intense. The Ket sequence was so much fun. Dude, I can't believe how awesome it was watching that Kets climb up that like cliffside, and then when it gets to the top, it's eating the dude. Dude, that was awesome. That was so incredibly cool. And what was the other scene? Oh, the Titanosaur scene. Very much just a pull straight from Jurassic Park, even closer up, more like underneath the dinosaur, which was kind of crazy. Never really expected them to get that close. So Jonathan Bailey, Henry Loomis has kind of got like a death wish in this movie, I feel like. Yeah, but those sequences were definitely worth the price of the admission alone. And the characters, let's talk about that. I mentioned Henry Loomis. He's an interesting character. I really like him. I don't feel like I fully buy the accent choice and all that, but the enthusiasm, the knowledge and stuff like that is really fun. I know he mentions 3 of the most massive dinosaurs, and we all know those are not dinosaurs. There's one dinosaur and then 2 other creatures, right? But like, so that aside, like, he's informative. I love his kind of conversation in the jungle with some of the characters about like survival and stuff like that. That's a very JP moment. Very much dig that. I think the relationships have grown on me since my initial watch. It didn't vibe with me completely the first time. The character dynamics, the entire like beginning of the movie really didn't sit well with me. And I think at this point I've chalked it up to the fact that the sound quality was a little lower in my initial screening. You didn't really get the score very like in your face or anything. So I felt like the dynamics kind of suffered for a lot of that stuff, and it felt awkward. Some of the humor didn't land for me. But I think on the second watch, I was very much more invested in those character dynamics, and I think the relationships are actually pretty cool. And it's it feels like a throwback to old Jurassic movies in a lot of ways. I think Scarlett and Mahershala have like a wonderful rapport that I just didn't catch on to initially, and I feel like they're like best buds that are getting back together, running old scams and stuff, and I love that. They were very much a fun duo, and then adding in Jonathan Bailey into that mix was really charming, like a very good, charming crew. The Delgado family was awesome. Absolutely love them. They were fantastic together, meeting up with Dolores and stuff. What's his name? I'm blanking on his name at the moment. I just had it. Xavier. He didn't work as well for me. Some of his jokes felt misplaced, at least in Jurassic, and he didn't really work all around for me. I think the acting and the acting choices and everything were great. He did a great job in the role. It's just one of those characters that didn't really work for me. But yeah, so the characters were a lot of fun. A lot of people are just like throwaway characters. Rupert Friend's character was really good. I really dug his, like, he's a bad guy, but like he doesn't really start off that way at all. Like, I feel like I kind of felt he was genuine throughout most of the movie. And then we get to that scene where he doesn't help Teresa up and he just kind of was willing to let her die in that moment. And I thought, man, that's kind of brutal. And then later on, he kind of takes a little bit more evil tone with the whole gun and everything like that. And then I really liked how Scarlett was like, so let's talk about this. What happened back there on the boat with Teresa? Were you going to let her die? Like, what was going on there? And I love that kind of direct forwardness that she brought to Zora. I thought that was really cool. And the fact that he was a little slimy later on, he's like, yeah, we don't need to find the family. Let's keep moving on. I thought that was pretty funny. There are some funny moments, like the Xavier character has a fantastically hilarious moment, though. Some of the jokes didn't work, but this one really worked for me. Was when they've all settled on, like, all right, we're gonna get going. He takes his stick and he swipes through the jungle to like make some room, and then some massive stuff moves us off in the distance. He's like, let's go in that general direction, or whatever he had said. It was so funny to me. I cracked up pretty loud in both showings for that one. And I do think there are some jokes that work, some don't. The whole mint thing didn't really work for me. It was kind of weird. It went on very long. And like Henry Loomis, like, why would you do that in the middle of the Titanosaur sequence? Like, it's just weird. It's kind of weird, but whatever. If it works for you, it works for you. It didn't really work for me. The sound design. Let's talk about that since I mentioned the Titanosaurs. The sound design in this movie is incredible. It's unlike anything that you've ever heard from Jurassic before. I think you get the Titanosaur sequence with those, like the tails and just like the vibe, the general vibe of that whole field, which we've seen so many times in the marketing. It paid off so well, and I think the sound design of those Titanosaurs was kind of like very alien in nature. It felt otherworldly and angelic in a way, and it was just amazing. Like, I loved that entire sequence with the sound design. I think the cats sequence, man, was that unreal, dude. The sound design there. The way that they made this like incredibly like intimidating and dangerous chirping that like would just peck at you, and just like the sound of the squawk that it did. Oh my God, it was just incredible. So I really loved those two sequences. Felt unlike anything Jurassic that we've heard before. I can't really pinpoint any other sound design moments at the moment, but you know, overall, I think once I got that second screening with a much better like sound, you know, in the room, it felt so much better of an experience. So sound design, absolutely incredible, and it felt like the score really peaked a lot there for me. And I think there's moments in this score that really do work, and there's moments that like kind of just pass me by. So I'm really interested in listening full through the score. There's moments that felt not very Jurassic, and then there's moments that felt like absolutely Jurassic. They're really quoting Jurassic Park a lot. Didn't seem like there was any quotes of Jurassic World era stuff. So that's a little disappointing. But maybe there are. Maybe I just missed them. But I really like the score from what I can tell, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to listen to, and a major part of my listening habits for the next few months. But Dolores, I thought was incredibly cute. It's going to be a huge fan favorite for a lot of people and younger audiences and stuff. I can't wait to just get all of the Dolores merch and stuff like that. Everything from Universal, like Orlando and places like that. Can't wait. Um, and speaking of like younger audiences too, like I brought my son, he's 7, and he's okay with a lot of this stuff, so it didn't really bother him, but I loved like watching his face. But if you do have like younger kids, you take your own, cues there and just see if they're willing to go to this movie or not. Like I don't know. I know some people have same age kids that are not into that kind of stuff and maybe a little bit more afraid of those. So just take it as you will. My son loved it though. What else? What else can we talk about? You know what was awesome? It was just visually stunning. Like the entire thing from start to finish was very beautiful. Absolutely loved all of the stuff. Like the aesthetic of the functioning research facility was fantastic. And I know I said like it doesn't jive with me for like the way that it canonically ties into the rest of the world, but everything about it looked so cool. Everything looked incredible. The way the Mosasaurus doesn't jive with its, other counterparts, if it is the same creature, that doesn't work aesthetically, but like at the same time, it looks phenomenal. I think this is the better version of the Mosasaur. Spinosaurs, gotta say no. They're like, I love the other Spinosaur much better. The JP3 Spinosaur wins in 10 times out of 10 for me. So yeah, they're cool, they're fun, and they're dangerous. That was fun, but like it just doesn't work the same, the Spinosaurs. So but I think when we went into this movie, right, we weren't really sure what we were going to be getting early on. Throughout the marketing and leading up to the film, like directly, they really spoiled just about everything. I watched the behind the scenes on Peacock after both viewings, and I was like, man, did they spoil everything that's in the movie pretty much. So yeah, I think they need to still do a better job with the marketing of not spoiling absolutely everything. So that was a little bit of a bummer. And I think that absolutely plays into your first initial viewing. It kind of disappears after that, but when you feel like you've seen the entire movie, man, is that a bummer. But yeah, I think, in the second viewings, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really play into it anymore. I was talking about like the beauty of it all. Yeah, whatever they've filmed, on location looks incredibly beautiful. And I know like it's really hard to tell these days because when you watch like the plates that they filmed, it's like, man, they really did film there, but they added so much extra stuff. So it's really hard to tell like what is natural, what is not. But I think it looks incredible. This island feels dangerous and scary in ways that other Jurassic Islands don't. It feels like a mix of Jurassic and Skull Island in the best way possible. It's very, very cool. So I would love to revisit this island and maybe get some more information as why things look different and why whatever is happening here is happening. Like that's the thing. I went into the movie knowing that we probably wouldn't get a lot of answers. I came out of the movie with no further answers. So that was a little disappointing, but it is what it is. It feels more like a reboot than Jurassic World did. Jurassic World felt much more like a continuation, legacy sequel kind of deal. This feels like a reboot, more so than any of the others. So it feels like we've continued with the storyline very minimally, changed all the aesthetics, and yeah, that's just how we ended up here. And I think it'll make for an interesting future. They did. Frank Marshall talked a lot about they left it very much open. I didn't really see it as like super open of a film. At the end of the day, they do get the DNA, and Martin Krebs dies. He gets his head bitten off basically, and The arm is there still on the container, but they take that container with them and decide to open source this, let the people have it. And that's interesting. I do think there could be more to that story, but I'm worried that they won't go there too deeply because of what happened with Maisie and all that stuff. But I think if Spielberg is out there and still wants to go down the human hybrid route, that is absolutely a route to go down with this lingering, DNA case if they ever do want to go there. But we'll see if that is any of the ongoing thread. I would hope so, but I don't know. The fact that this movie ends in very much like a JP3 fashion where, the Spinosaurus had a flare sequence and then disappeared into the jungle towards the end of that movie, right? In the darkness. The D-Rex has a flare sequence and then just disappears into the jungle. We don't ever see anything about it ever again. And that includes everything. Everything out there is just left here. And you know what? One thing I wanted to mention also about the synopsis too is the fact that the synopsis, and they tell us this multiple times throughout the movie, the synopsis is basically word for word on screen in text, right? And then it's stated like somewhere, I think, in the very beginning of the movie. Then it's stated again, like in a video. And then it's stated again. So they restate it a little too much. I think the script works on a lot of levels, but it fails in a lot of other ways. It's very much just telling and not just showing and doing those things, right? All they needed to do in a lot of instances was just kind of like allude to things and we would have understood. I mean, they put the text on the screen. You didn't need to do that if you were telling us 16 times after the fact. So a little script issue that really bugs me there. But so what I was trying to say was the fact that the synopsis mentions that dinosaurs have moved into equatorial regions. That really doesn't play a part in this movie at all, I feel like. None of the whole, dinosaurs in equatorial regions. We do see that, and I don't know if it's an unforgivable mistake or what, but there's an Apatosaurus in New York City, and I think, they called it a Brachiosaurus, right? But was this the name of Bronto Billy? Was that Bronto Billy? I forget. Maybe back me up on that. I forget exactly if they were talking about different species or what, but there's a mention of Bronto Billy, I think, and then a Brachiosaur, and then it's an Apatosaurus. And I know a lot of people are taking issue with the size of it. That didn't bother me at all. Didn't even care at all about that. But I thought that was cool because it was like a Jurassic World era Apatosaurus, right? Like that felt good. I felt the transition from the species was pretty good. And then we never really touch on the fact that dinosaurs are, moving or migrating or whatever, going towards the equator. That doesn't really play a factor because we go straight to this island that has hybrid creatures, of which we see a lot of different stuff. There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on there. And I think that paves the way for a lot of more interesting developments in the future. If they want to just keep going back to this island for 3 movies, sure, I guess you could. I know people would get tired of it, and there'd have to be a logical reason to get there. That's not just like, paragliding incident. Oh, my boat washed up again. My plane crashed. There's a lot of things that, it's just regurgitating the same thing over and over again. So I don't really, envy them for having to create the idea of why people go to this island. But, I think your Amazon devices, I don't want to say it because I've got one right here, but there was that radio drama thing that those devices was able to play, and you could interact with it. And there was an investigative journalism person. I think it was a podcaster actually went to Nublar and got the lowdown on everything going down in the Fallen Kingdom era. But imagine if that happened now, if there was a podcaster. I think I know some that would be willing to go to the island and find out what's going down. I think that could be a fun story to tell, but as far as opening it up, I don't really know. There's other stories to tell there, I guess, but yeah, who knows? I think I was talking about something else before and I went on a tangent and I completely forget what that was, but yeah, I think that's probably it. I just talked for 35 minutes. This was meant to be a much quicker. But sometimes you just got to get your thoughts out. So overall, I really liked the movie. I started at a 3-star. I was like, this stands just above JP3 for me. JP3 is last. Don't fool yourself. It's last. Okay. I know there's a lot of hate for the World trilogy. For me, those all felt cohesive in their canonical storytelling. And look, I understand the canon has been, wishy-washy, whatever, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey from the beginning. It hasn't really fully lined up in a lot of sense from movie to movie, starting all the way at the beginning. But it felt like a cohesive story that they were telling, right, across 6 films. This one does feel like a tangent, a reboot, an alternate timeline. But yeah, I think, I don't know. Again, I don't know where I was going with that, but like, I think, oh yeah. So what I was saying was, I think those ones still all are above it for me. So this one's just above JP3. So number 6 in the ranking. I gave it a 3-star initially, and then I did bump it up to a 4-star because I think when you watch what is on screen, it's a great film, a lot of fun, great action, some fun characters, some comedy, some not comedy, but like some great score, a lot of really good stuff going for it. And I had a good time with it. And I'm very much excited to keep seeing this movie. I usually tap out at 3, but I feel like I saw the first 2 so fast, I want to keep going. So who knows? We'll see. I want to at least see it one more time, and then I'll buy all the merch, buy all the stuff. I'm very excited for the hopes and dreams of this movie. Hopefully it makes some money. I know the initial box office reporting is not super high across the 5-day. Worldwide, they're starting to say, "Wow, this is going to make a lot of money," and I'm like, "Is it though?" We'll see. I've been imagining it's like 700 range. It might tap out there, but we'll see if it hits $1 billion. But yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this, my random ranting for the past 30, 40 minutes now. And I know it wasn't always cohesive and coherent, but I was excited to watch the movie, and I'm excited to talk about it. So here's to many more conversations about this movie in the near future. Tom Jurassic, we'll get Jay Jurassic on here. And I did record with Jay Jurassic, and I want to put that out sometime soon. We'll see. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to this. Go to JurassicParkPodcast.com. Find all of our stuff there. We've got new episodes every Monday, live streams every Wednesday. And for the foreseeable future, at least when Beyond the Gates is releasing stuff, we'll have the first Thursday live streams. So check out those. Go check out my newsletter, JurassicParkPodcast.com/newsletter, where I talk about Jurassic, other movies, TV shows, my different appearances and things like that on other shows. And go check out my other podcasts, one about Star Wars. It's called The Forcecast. And then my theme park podcast, Grim Grunting Hosts. Go check out all those things. Follow me over on Letterboxd. You can read some more insight into my feelings. Just search for Brad Jost over there. But thank you so much for listening to this. I hope you all enjoyed it. And let me know your thoughts and feelings. Give a call to our voicemail line, 732-825-7763. Leave a message. It's like a 3-minute long message. Just go ahead, record your thoughts real quick. If you need to, you can always call back. But you can also just pick up your phone, hit the record button, and email me like a voice memo. It's very simple. You can record your thoughts there. Try to keep it in that 3 to 5 minute range if you can. And I will put them in a big episode with everybody's thoughts and feelings on Jurassic World Rebirth very soon. Everybody out there, please stay safe, be kind, and enjoy.
Drop what you're doing and leave now.